So today I thought I would film a video all about the perfect base. Basically how to get a flawless skin, how to basically set up any makeup look for success. I find this makeup base is perfect for an editorial look, a natural look, a glam look. It's just kind of one of those foolproof go-to looks for me. So let's get started. So I'm gonna start off with a pore smoothing primer. I'm using the one by Benefit here. I'm gonna take about a pea-sized amount and apply that all over my face. But I normally like to focus the product on like my nose, my chin, my forehead, more of my T-zone. And really smooth out that area. But then whatever I have left over on my fingers, I'm gonna put kind of on the rest of my face and on my eyelids as well, just to make sure everything is nice and smooth to start off. Okay, then time for foundation. Now, honestly, I find the way to go is a lightweight foundation. Now, even when I was acne prone and my skin was not nearly as even, I still really liked using lightweight foundations. The one that I'm using here is MAC Face and Body. So I kind of just dot the product on with my finger first, and then I take a really dense stipple brush. This one here is from Real Techniques and I love it. And I just kind of stipple and buff the product onto my skin. So the way that I like to describe the type of makeup that I like on myself, I would call it kind of like a natural but full glam look, if that makes any sense. Like I like to use a lot of products. I like to look glam, but I also want it to be natural in the sense that you don't kind of see the makeup first on my skin. I want to naturally enhance my features and kind of build the products up slowly versus like using really harsh and intense like jarring products. So sticking with that theme, I find using a lightweight foundation and kind of building it up on the areas that I need to with concealer afterwards, that typically tends to make the skin look the best. So now I'm just gonna go in with some concealer. This is the NARS Creamy Concealer, and I'm gonna put a little bit of that under my eyes. Now I find I get the most kind of purpley and bluish right in that inner corner where I did the triangle, and just a little bit on the outer edge of my eye. So I'm just gonna focus the product there and kind of blend from there. Now, a tip that I find if you do have more of that purpley bluish like I do is to go for more of a pink-based concealer under your eyes, and that's gonna kind of help cancel out that color a bit better. So it's kind of like a bit of concealer and color correcting all in one. Then with a damp beauty blender, I just kind of like to pat that product in, and you'll kind of see the way that I'm doing this is kind of sticking to that kind of upside down triangle that everyone talks about. It just is a really lifting and I don't want to say snatched, but it makes your face look nice and snatched. Do you know what I'm saying? It just like sucks it up. Like, Bella Hadid, who are you? You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if I'm making any sense in this voiceover. Anyways, and then I take the leftover product and just kind of stamp that concealer over my eye, and that acts as a really nice eyeshadow base as well. It just kind of evens everything out. Now I feel like I'm breaking the ultimate beauty guru rule where everyone says, tap with your ring finger and be gentle under your eye. It looks like I'm patting this in very harshly, but you know what? It's my own face, I guess. I guess I could handle it. Ooh, and you see the difference it makes on that outer corner? I never really noticed it before, but I do hold a lot of darkness there, so making sure that I concentrate some product on there definitely helps with lifting up the under eye. Okay, next up, I'm gonna spot conceal. So I'm just using a slightly darker shade of that concealer that matches my skin tone a bit better. And I'm just dotting that on directly. Now, if you do have super active blemishes, the more sanitary thing to do is to put it on your back of your hand first versus going directly in with the wand. But you know what, I was feeling risky today. So I like to go in with a small, mini, kind of flat top, dense stipple brush. I'm losing my words. This one's from Sigma, and I really like it for buffing out concealer. So once I kind of diffuse the product with the brush first, I kind of like to go over top with the beauty blender and just kind of make sure it's all melted into my skin evenly. And it virtually makes any discoloration disappear. It's truly magic. Now, in all honesty, I basically kind of stole this whole technique from Lisa Eldridge. She's an amazing makeup artist and she does YouTube videos as well. It's kind of like the pinpoint concealer technique. And I have a whole more in-depth video. So if you are struggling with more acne and want to know how to cover that up more effectively, I will link that up above. Okay, moving on to some powder. I have the Charlotte Tilbury powder here, and this is a really buttery formula. It looks very beautiful on the skin. It's not cakey, and I like to go in with more of a tapered brush and kind of precisely put down where I like my powder because I don't like to be too heavy-handed with powder anymore. I just find more of a dewy finish looks a bit more natural. So the areas that I like to focus on with a bit of powder is under my eyes to set that, the eyelids, really any areas of the face that have a bit more movement where I don't want to crease. So that's gonna be like on my chin, around my nose, my forehead lines, things like that. Now time for a little cream bronzer. Who doesn't like to feel nice and bronzed and tans? That is just, I feel so healthy. Okay, so I'm taking a duo fiber kind of stipple brush here. Now, one thing that I think is important is to not be too heavy-handed. So if you kind of notice where I'm holding the brush, I'm holding it more kind of towards the end of the barrel. The handle, what is the proper word for that? Actually, I'm holding it a little intensely here, but I kind of like to feather it on with not too much pressure to kind of diffuse the product out. And I'm just kind of following the natural kind of hollows of my cheeks, and I'm gonna go around the perimeter of my face as well, just kind of naturally where the sun would tan you. And yeah, so I'm just kind of building that up in layers, and it is worth noting that I am conscious when I apply my powder, the areas where I'm gonna still be going in with creams. So I obviously didn't put powder around this kind of perimeter of my face because I knew I was gonna go in with this product. But it typically works out best if you're not layering creams over top of powders. I mean, there are a few exceptions, but especially with this cream bronzer, I like to kind of work with unset foundation. And I find that looks the most natural and kind of blends in the most seamless. So you can see already with just a bit of bronzer, it just kind of brings back some natural dimension and warmth into your skin. And I think cream is just the way to go, especially if you don't want it to look too product-y. Now, one thing that I've been loving lately is to make sure that I go over the bridge of my nose with some bronzer. It's something that I avoided doing for the longest time, but now that I've started doing it, I can't go back. It just makes the look way more cohesive and the bronzer way more believable. Now, going in to enhance the bronzer a little bit more, I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow, just using that powder bronzer to kind of reinforce all the bronzing that we've already done. Now, I like to use a big fluffy brush for this. This one's like a Morphe brush, I think, but really any kind of soft and fluffy brush that's not too dense will do the trick. Now, the color of this bronzer is really interesting. It's kind of like the perfect mix of a contour and a bronzer color. It's not too cool and gray, but it's not too warm and orange. So it really just does a great job at adding a bit of definition and reinforcing that kind of bronzy glow. And I just find that this is a product that I always go back to no matter what. So yeah, definitely really love that, and especially layered on top of that cream bronzer, it just really gives me the effect that I want. And also will make sure that it lasts extra long, because if you just have a cream on its own, it might fade away a bit quicker. Now, another step, I know this seems excessive, but this is specifically a contour powder. So this is more of that gray toned matte brown, and that's gonna add more shadows onto your face. So I like to kind of put that under my lip, and that makes your lip look a bit bigger and a bit fuller. And then I also like to sculpt out my cheekbones a bit better. So on an angled brush, I'm just taking it, and actually not too far in. I don't really like to take my contour any further in than the outer corner of my eye. And I just kind of follow the natural shape, and I kind of scoop it upwards. So one thing that drives me nuts about contour is when people make like just a harsh straight line down the side of their face. It's not really following the natural anatomy of the face, you know what I'm saying? Normally cheekbones kind of have a bit of a curve, and they kind of sculpt the cheek a bit. So I kind of like to follow that natural curve, and it makes your cheeks look more full and defined and just healthy, while also giving you that definition that you want. Now, another new addition into my kind of flawless go-to base that I've been loving is contouring my nose. Now, I've never liked my nose, but for some reason I've always avoided contouring it because I thought it was just too undefined naturally and it wouldn't look right. But I find with a little bit of contour powder, kind of following kind of like the inner crease of where my eye goes, I kind of redefine that line from the inner brow bone there and drag that down just along kind of the edge of the nose, slimming out the width of it. And then just to make sure it's kind of blended in seamlessly, I like to take a clean fluffy brush and just kind of dust and diffuse that product out and make sure it's not too harsh. And then if you do want to shorten the tip of your nose as well, you can take a little bit of that and put it on the bottom, and that'll just kind of shorten and lift the nose. Then one of my favorite steps is eyebrows. Now I'm just taking this clear brow gel here. This one is from Benefit, and it is actually the most intense brow gel I've ever used. It makes your eyebrows crunchy and they won't move, which I thought I didn't like that about the product, but that's actually the reason why I love it now. It really can separate and comb out those lashes, or not lashes, your eyebrow hairs. So you can see here, I kind of like to feather and lift the eyebrows up a little bit and kind of fan them out. I find this more feathery and fluffy look just a bit more natural, and I just kind of like the way that it looks. I think it's a really modern eyebrow, and it definitely kind of strays away from the harsh Instagram fade eyebrows that we've been so used to seeing for so long. Now, I feel like the way that I do my eyebrows now is kind of backwards to what everyone else tells you. Normally they say go in and fill in the eyebrows first with either a pencil or a pomade, or whatever you like to use, and then go in with the eyebrow gel to seal it in. But I've been loving doing the reverse. I find I use less product, it looks more fluffy and natural, and honestly just gives me more control with how I like to do my eyebrows. So I like to go in and do the eyebrow gel and then kind of move on, let the eyebrow gel really set, and then go back in with a pomade after and really define those eyebrow hairs. Next up, I'm gonna move on to blush, and blush has been one of those steps that I have been obsessing with lately with makeup. I like to use this cream palette here. This is from Makeup Forever. It's actually really great. The makeup artist in me is wishing I had this like 5 years ago because it's so compact and has so many different undertones and shades in it. But I always like to go for like more of a warm, kind of peachy, sun-kissed kind of color. And again, just on a duo fiber brush, I'm just kind of building that up on the cheeks. Now, one thing with blush that I find is the most important thing to do is to really look far away in the mirror and make sure it's nice and balanced out on both sides and the shape is the same. Now, this is one of those times where I feel like I kind of break the rule of using creams on top of powders. I feel like I had a light wash of powder when I lightly set my face, but for some reason I find that this cream product doesn't disrupt that at all and it just kind of layers on nicely. So for me, I mean, I guess the rule doesn't apply of don't use creams over powders. Now, one thing I will say though, I do think it's really important to use synthetic brushes, especially when using cream products like this, just because it picks up and disperses the product way better and it doesn't ruin your brushes, and it just looks really good. So also don't be afraid to use your fingers. I'm always kind of blending in the product and melting it in with the warmth of my hands. I'm going back with the Beauty Blender here just to make sure that it all blends in seamlessly. Okay, next up, I'm gonna go in with some Glossier Halo Scope. This is like a cream highlighter and it's absolutely beautiful. It's kind of like the perfect balance of not being too shimmery, but also giving you a beautiful kind of glazed gloss on the cheek. And I like to kind of just pop that on the high points of my cheekbones. And you really see the dimension that it kind of brings out. And you know, the whole focus of this look is to really help accentuate all those features, but without being too definitive in the sense where you're like, oh, that girl has some crazy highlighter going on. It's like, no, I want you to be like, oh, that cheekbone looks really defined, versus, oh, that contour is there. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like taking a different approach to makeup, and I just think it's a lot more modern and refreshing, honestly. So you can really honestly go back in and layer on this product as much as you'd like. I do find a tip though with this product is I don't like to go directly from the stick onto my face. I find that it kind of will take off my my foundation or whatever makeup I have already on there. So I do definitely like to put it on my finger first and then go onto my face. I like to also go in with a brush and put it on like the Cupid's bow and just be a little more precise with the application. So I basically give myself a milk mustache of glow, and then I also like to pop that highlighter on the inner corner and sometimes a little bit on the brow bone as well. This is just a product that makes your skin look nice and healthy, and like, you know, you drink your 8 glasses of water a day. She's been getting her full 8 hours of sleep at night. She works out maybe like twice a day. Does she do hot yoga? It's like one of those products, you know? It's just much more, whoa, she lives a healthy lifestyle versus girl's got a crazy pan of highlighter glitter on her cheek. Now, despite everything that I was just saying, I'm actually going in with a bit more intense of a highlighter because on camera, I just find that highlighter sometimes doesn't read the same as it's reading in real life. So I am gonna bump it up a little bit. That's just for you guys though on camera. In real life, I normally don't do this. This is the Nude Sticks Hey Honey product, which is a bit more golden and has a bit more of shimmer in it. But again, it has that really like kind of balmy, glossy finish. Now going back into those eyebrows, I'm actually using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow product, and I'm just kind of putting that on a small angled brush and just kind of doing those little tiny hair-like strokes. And I'm just filling in basically the bald spots that my hair doesn't naturally grow. Now I have fairly like bushy and, I mean, I wouldn't say bushy. I've got eyebrows, you know. It's not like I'm lacking a lot of eyebrow hair. But I do find towards the tail of my brow, they tend to get a bit more sparse. So that's really the area that I put the most product. But yeah, I mean, I really don't do anything too crazy. And then I just kind of take whatever I have left over on the brush and just lightly kind of dust through the front of the eyebrow, just making sure that everything's nice and balanced. Now, even though the eyebrows are a bit more feathered and a bit more, I guess I would say undone, symmetry is definitely something that's still really important. And I think with any makeup look, symmetry is something that is just generally pleasing to the eye. So the most kind of balanced it can be without being, I guess, maybe too much of like a stamp kind of replica, I think that that just tends to look the best. And then for some reason, this eyebrow just sucks a lot more than the other one. I don't know, this eyebrow just always gives me trouble. It likes to cause a fuss. It just never, you know, looks as good as the other one. So it's okay, I accept it sometimes, but I do as best as I can to make it look similar to the other one. Okay, now moving on to some freckles. I find putting on fake freckles just kind of makes the skin look more believable. It's like, oh, it's her skin. Is that really her skin? Is she not wearing any foundation? Even though you totally are. So I'm just taking the Benefit Precisely My Brow eyebrow pencil. And this product's really nice actually because it is a bit softer, so it really easily just kind of dots onto the skin. So I kind of like dot it on in little sporadic, random areas. You don't want this part to be too symmetrical. And then just with the warmth of my finger, I kind of like to push the product in and it just kind of softens it out and makes it look a bit more natural on the skin. Now what I've also found is if you put more of the freckles kind of on like the sides of the nose, it will actually act as a contour even further because you're adding a bit more darkness and a bit more depth there. So if you put a bit more clusters just on the sides where you want to kind of slim it out, it will just kind of further contour your nose. So that's a little tip if there's anybody like me out there who's looking to slim the bridge of the nose. Oh, this is just one of my favorite steps of this makeup look. Freckles just make you look so sun-kissed and just, they're so cute. If you have natural freckles, I am very jealous of you because I clearly do not. And then just to kind of set those freckles in place, I'm going back in with that Charlotte Tilbury bronzer and just kind of loosely dusting that over top of the bridge. Okay, now moving on to the lips. I always like my lips to look slightly bigger, and the way that I cheat that is with lip liner. So I'm using the MAC lip liner here in Whirl. So I'm just kind of tracing the perimeter of my lips. My bottom lips I tend not to overline too much, but it's really more my top lip where I go a little crazy. So basically what I'm gonna do, once I'm done tracing my lip, I am just gonna go in with my finger and just kind of diffuse and blend out that product. I like the line obviously to be there and to do its job, but not to be too harsh. So same thing with the upper lip. I'm just gonna kind of follow my natural Cupid's bow. Now, one thing that I find a lot of people say, oh, if you wanna overline your lips, the most natural way to do it is to overline your Cupid's bow. And honestly, that could be true for some people, but I don't think that's necessarily the case for everyone. I don't think makeup obviously is like a one-size-fits-all approach, and you really have to look at your own lip shape and kind of decide where you want to add more fullness. So basically on the upper outer part of the top lip, I kind of just like to overline and add a bit more roundness, and that's gonna make it appear a bit more full, and just attach that to the corners of where my lips meet. And then I do like to blot my lip liner out, so basically erase all of that hard work we just did. No, I'm just kidding. Basically, I find blotting not only reinforces the product, it makes it last a bit longer, but it also, again, helps it look more believable because then you can layer up the product and build it up a bit slower. And then next, I'm just going back in with that lip liner, and I'm basically doing kind of like a subtle ombre lip. So I'm gonna put more product on the inner corners, adding a bit more depth and shadow, and just kind of blending that out with my finger again. For me, I just find this technique and this approach to be the most believable way to overline my lips while still giving them the definition that I want. Okay, we are almost done. Moving on to some lip gloss. Who doesn't love a good gloss? Actually, a lot of people don't like gloss. Personally, I like lip gloss. I think it looks really refreshing and really like, ooh, just, it looks good on the lips. So I'm just using the Glossier Clear Gloss here. And for some reason, I know it's just a clear gloss, but this lip gloss is so good. It's just a really pillowy formula. So I like to kind of just blend that out with my finger just to make sure there's not too much on. And this just makes your lips look really juicy and good, and I love it. And then to finish everything off, I'm gonna take a little bit of setting spray. Setting spray just really kind of helps melt everything together and makes it last good. My favorite one is actually the Urban Decay All Nighter, but this one isn't that. I think I was just trying to finish off that one. Okay, so here is the finished makeup base. Now obviously this makeup look isn't complete, the eyes are completely bare, but this really works for any other look you wanna do. If you just wanna toss in some mascara and call it a day, if you wanna do something crazy, like an editorial, intense, colorful lid, it works for something like that. I actually just did a makeup tutorial not too long ago. I'll link it up above. It's how to wear colorful makeup, and I do 3 different makeup looks. I have like this crazy liner look and this graphic yellow look, and this makeup base works perfectly with all of those. So you can definitely use this base for something a little more intense and a little more crazy, or you can use it for like your everyday makeup base. It really is just kind of like a foolproof go-to foundation and staple in my makeup life. Anyways, I hope that you guys found this makeup look useful, and hopefully you guys learned some new techniques. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye guys!